In a unionized workplace, employment contracts are negotiated through the collective bargaining process. The Committee of Adjustment of your local gets together with representatives of the employer to carve out an agreement on issues such as wages, overtime, training, healthcare, vacation time, retirement, and other benefits and workplace standards. These are the 3 steps of contract negotiations: pre-negotiations, during negotiations, and post-negotiations. Months before the union contract negotiations begin, there are many steps the bargaining team should take to prepare for negotiations with the goal of facilitating contract completion. First, information request. Request the bargaining unit's current employee roster, all current policies, practices and procedures, insurance plans, fringe benefits, etc. Establishing goals. Examine what the union is trying to accomplish for these contract negotiations. Surveys to members. A good contract involves as many members as possible. Collect information from members using surveys. Know your timelines, the period of time that you have to request to negotiate the contract. Mediator request. It is always a good practice to have a mediator assigned to your negotiations if needed. Assign roles to your bargaining team, such as chief negotiator, note taker, proposal tracker, etc. And you could also request assistance from SmartTD during contract negotiations. During negotiations, one of the first things you'll be talking about is ground rules. Ground rules are rules that are adopted by both parties to navigate bargaining negotiations. Mandatory subjects of bargaining. These are items that must be negotiated, for example, hours, wages, working conditions, etc. Permissive subjects of bargaining. Neither party is required to agree to proposed language, for example, the ground rules, pension benefits for retired members, etc. Please visit Smart University to find a document that will go into more detail about what mandatory subjects of bargaining are and permissive subjects of bargaining. Caucus. This is a meeting of members called by one side to discuss issues with only those members. Good faith bargaining. This is the mutual obligation of the union and the employer to try to achieve a positive outcome for all the parties included. Impasse. The point in negotiations at which one or both of the parties have determined that no further action can be made by either party to reach a mutual agreement. If this happens, the company can impose their last best and final offer. Tentative agreement. This is a written agreement reached by the parties during negotiations. Post-negotiations. After the bargaining team and the employer come up with a tentative agreement, it goes to the members for a ratification vote. This is a vote by the union members to accept or reject the contract that has been negotiated between the union and the employer. If that passes, now it's time to proofread. This is a review of the ratified contractual language for final version. You could use the features on Microsoft Word or Adobe Acrobat to compare documents when finalizing a contract. Here's an information request template that you could find in Smart University to prepare for negotiations. You could also learn more about contract negotiations by purchasing this book by Robert M. Schwartz. Here's the link. Here are some tips to remember when going through contract negotiations. Always be professional and civil. Be reasonable. Keep track of all proposals, counters, and tentative agreements. That's including the unions and the employers. There's a resource document on Smart University to help you do this. Have a court reporter there if possible. Take very detailed notes. Mark the time and date on each document you receive. Ask questions to truly understand proposals. Try your best to keep the membership well informed. Be patient throughout the process. And finally, save everything. You never know when you're going to have an argument over the interpretation of what was agreed on. So that is our presentation on contract negotiations. Thank you so much for watching, and look for more videos on Smart University. Thank you and take care.